Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another unboxing. This is for Zombicide 2nd Edition. So I've done a few other Zombicide games on my channel, the Marble Zombies and the Western Undead or Alive. I'm going to hop in and start trying to do some of the older games as I can get them, so I won't be doing like full expansions like I usually tend to do. What I wanted to do is go through the 2nd Edition, which updates the rules from the original or classic Zombicide. Like any type of 2nd edition of a game, you're always going to have some people that will think, oh, the original was better, or I like this better, or, you know, other people are hopping, hey, I love the new edition. I personally, you know, kind of having looked over the rules and all the stuff for the original and this, I like the updates they've done to the 2nd edition. But what I'm going to do is we're going to go through this as a regular unboxing, as just if you're picking up 2nd edition. I'm not going to make a bunch of comparisons to the old game. If I can get a hold of the original, the classic version, then I'll do like a comparison video at that point. But I just kind of want to go through. Let's check out what Zombicide is. So, what is the concept of Zombicide if you haven't heard of it? Is you're playing as a group of survivors who are trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, of course. And it's called Zombicide because the whole idea is that you are trying, like, you're trying to kill all the zombies. You're trying, like, kind of like a genocide, which is where you kill a group of people. A Zombicide is where you kill all the zombies. It is a miniature game. You move your your survivors around the board, try to complete certain objectives, while avoiding dying. It is a survival horror type game. It is very cooperative. As you play, you generally always have at least 6 miniatures on the board. So if you're playing with 6 players, each person gets their own survivor. If you're playing with 3, each person should, you know, potentially take care of 2 people. If you're playing 1 player, you're gonna have to control all 6 characters. So you can play for less people, you just always want to have them. Now, to say that though, there are special missions and certain things that will have you play with less characters, especially like the online missions, but generally in the book it's always the same. They do have a little guide in here saying the stuff that did change in the 2nd edition for people that played the original and wanted to know what to pick up, what's a little bit different. Now, one other big thing to note with this is, although it's called Zombicide and it's about, you know, usually it's about always killing all the zombies, that's typically not your goal. Your goal isn't to try and kill everything, your goal is to survive. Your mission might be, hey, get to this building, collect these objects, or rescue this person, or do this thing, and then get to an exit. But it's not necessarily always kill, because as each mission or quest goes on, more and more zombies will always keep appearing. So the longer you actually stick around to the mission, the harder it's going to get. The quicker you can complete your objectives, the better. We're going to get a bunch of different stuff, like there's different tokens which show where zombies spawn. They're all controlled by the AI, so you don't have to control any, which is really nice. And then there's tokens. Now, I'm not going to dive super deep into this on how to play the game. I will do a separate how to play video. This is more just to go through the components. But I'm going to do like a brief run over on what the components and some of the stuff are, just so as I'm going through the cards and the stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Alright, so there's a bunch of rules for setup. This book is actually very nice to kind of go through and explain stuff. You're going to choose a mission that you're playing on, place your different tiles. You need these big giant beefy tiles to play. It's actually pretty big size. Double-sided. They're going to explain how where you go, what you can do. So then you're always playing with the same tiles, but being that they're modular, so there's 9 different ones and they're double-sided, you put them in different locations. There's a lot of custom ability how the map will actually end up being. So this is kind of what the game will look like when it's actually set up. You'll have your characters with their little dashboard, which will, you know, hold your items, track your health, track your adrenaline, which is kind of like your experience, and it shows on the map where you'll put everything. And again, I don't want to get too much into the how to play, but I just kind of went over the overview, which is number 5. The player space, so all the players at one at a time get to go through. If you're playing with multiple survivors, so if I'm playing, 3 players, player. Alright, so then the zombie phase. So after the players have all taken their turn, the zombies of course get a phase as well. The first thing they want to do is attack. If they're in a zone with any survivor, they immediately attack. Now, what makes this game very different from other games is there's typically no defense for that. There could be expansions. There are other Zombicide games that add defensive roles for like armor and stuff. And there might be things that you could get, but typically there's no damage. So if you're in a room with one zombie, he's going to hit you at the beginning of his turn. So at the end of your turn, either you need to have killed all the zombies that are next to you, or you need to be getting away from them. You can't, this isn't, like the Dead Rising video game, where you can stand in a group of 20 zombies and take them out with no repercussions. Because if you're standing there and you don't get rid of them, they get a chance to attack, they're going to hurt you. And since you typically only have about 3 health, if you're in a room with 3 zombies at the beginning of their phase, they're just going to attack you and devour you. You have no way of getting around that. Now, if they can't attack you, then they will move and try to. Now, if there are multiple survivors in the same zone, each player does have the option of taking some of the damage. So if there's 2 survivors in a room and there's 2 zombies, instead of one person having to take 2 damage, you can each take 1 damage. Then zombies move. So zombies move, their movement's very AI-like. Basically, what they're going to do is look to see what they're looking for, and this map shows a really good idea of how that works. And the how to play, I'll dive into this a little bit better. But basically, what they're going to do is, if they see you, they're going to attack you, like showing here. If not, they're going to go towards where the most noise is. So what they're going to do is they're first pick where they want to go. Then their second step is to start moving towards it in the shortest possible route. So the only reason that needs to be defined is because it's not just they see and then they move. They need to pick that direction, then they need to do something. So if, like, for some reason an ability or something other might interrupt them or get in their way, they might have to go around it. So yeah, then there's if there's uneven, so if there's groups of zombies, you'll split them either direction. So yeah, and then you can kind of decide as a group what makes sense. So if there's 3 zombies. So if there's 2 walkers and a fatty down here, 1 walker will go one way, 1 walker will go the other way. The 2 will split evenly. Then as a group, you decide which way the fatty takes. Whether you want them to go this way, and that kind of helps when the character colors maybe run around that direction, or they could stay that way. Usually as a group, you can kind of decide. Maybe if you're having trouble struggling at the game, you can make them, take the easier route that would give you a better way to escape, or you can always play the worst case scenario where they always take what would be the worst way for you. Then runners play a little bit differently because they have 2 actions, so they're going to try to attack, and if they can, everyone else, all the rest of the zombies go. Then they get a second action where then they'll attack again, or if they need to, they'll move and then they'll move again, or they'll move and attack, or whatever they need to do. Then there are different spawn points. So typically, this is a step 2. After the zombies have moved and attacked, then they spawn more zombies. So at least the upside is generally you don't have to worry about, like, okay, I see what zombies I have out there. Walkers can only move 1 spaces. Runners can only move 2 spaces. You can typically gauge where everyone is, how far they can move, so you know if you're out of range of their attacks. And then you can be like, alright, I'm fine, I can go. They do their movement and attacking, and then they spawn. So you don't have to worry about a bunch of them coming in and then all of a sudden popping out of nowhere attacking you. Now again, I say typically because there are cards that will let them activate right after they spawn, which are rush cards. So that could actually cause an issue. So you don't, but at least there you know that they're going to come from a spawn point. So you could also logically be, unless you're next to a building, like you just see them from the spawn zones, you could be, okay, the worst that could happen is a runner gets an extra 2. I'm 4 spaces away. I have to worry about a runner. So there's different cards that let them activate. Combat is very simple as well. So when you are fighting, this is now when you are attacking a zombie, not when they're attacking you. You get there every card you have is going to have 4 different symbols on it. It's going to have a range symbol, which will be 0 or 0 to 1 or 1 to 2, which is how many spaces away you can attack. Melee weapons attack 0 spaces away. Ranged weapons usually attack 0 to 1 or 2 spaces. Sometimes, though, they'll go 1 to 2 spaces, which means you can't attack the space you're in. But then they'll have the die symbol, which will show how many dice you roll. Then the accuracy symbol, which is a target, which will show how whether you hit or not. So, like the pistol is saying you roll 1 die, and you have to have a 3 or higher to do a hit. So if I roll at least a 3, I get a hit on it. Or like the katana over here has 2 dice, but I have to have 4 or higher. So it's a little bit harder to hit with a katana, but I get 2 chances at it. So if I roll a 4 with 1 and a 3 with the other, I only do 1 hit. And then the damage symbol shows how much damage it does. Now, what's also really fun about this is when you are attacking, you're attacking a zone. So if there are 4 zombies in that zone, you're attacking that zone. So now I've rolled and I found out, okay, I'm doing, with the katanas, I'm doing 2 damage. I can now deal that damage how I need to deal it. There are some exclusions because with melee weapons or not. Melee weapons, you can actually hit whoever you want. Because you're that close, you can kind of choose. So if I have 2 damage, do I take out the walkers, the runners, the fatties, idea. With the ranged ones, you actually have a chart. So you have to hit, if you're shooting a gun, you have to shoot a fatty or abomination first. Basically, the bigger targets are going to get hit with the gun first. Then the walkers, which are slower. Then the runners, which are the fastest. So that kind of makes sense. Like, you're shooting at a distance, unless you have a special skill, which characters can get, which lets you determine. You're just shooting into a crowd. You're going to hit the biggest thing first. You're not experienced. You have an office worker who's never picked up a gun before, shoots it into a group of things. He's going to hit whoever, whatever target's the biggest first. This is the idea of that. There's also friendly fire, which is kind of, it's an interesting mechanic. So essentially it's saying you are shooting into a crowd and one of the other survivors are in there. So you're trying to help eliminate the guys around them so that they don't get attacked on their next turn. If you miss with one of your guns, you are going to hit that person instead. So it's always going to happen. So if I rolled 2 dice for my my gun, and here showing up, I got a 2 and a 6. My 6 will hit, but my 1 will miss. I'll automatically hit the survivor in there first with my miss, no matter what. Unless, again, you have an ability that shows that you're a ranged expert weapon. So you really don't want to shoot into a crowd with a survivor unless you have some way of getting around that. It's not unless it's a last resort. Again, with melee weapons, though, you can choose not to. Basically, I'm swinging down my baseball bat. I can choose not to swing it at the guy standing there. I can choose to swing it at whoever I'd like. You have a little bit more control. Then there's also some equipment which have different effects as well. You can get a flashlight. You can get reloads. Some of them give you special skills, like the sniper rifles will let you actually gain the sniper ability. And then Molotov cocktails, which you can throw into an area and do a bunch of extra damage in one zone, which also can take care of abominations. And then there's additional things in the game mode. There's Abomination Fest, which you have multiple abominations on the board. There are cars, which you can get in the game. Certain missions, which let you do actions with them. I'm not going to get too much into them. Basically, you can drive a car using your actions, and then you can either go slow, which is what you kind of creep by, or you can go fast and run over zombies. But like with an action, if you run into a group that has a survivor, you might run into the survivor as well. And then the 2 different cars each have different special effects as well. Dark zones we kind of talked about, which have you can't trace lines of sight into a dark zone, so you can't shoot into a dark zone because you can't see what's in there. So zombies will spawn in there. You'll know there's a zombie in there. You'll know how many are in there, but you can't shoot in there to attack them. And then some games will have companions as well, which are like escort missions or having to save them. They give you different abilities. I want to get into all of that. This video is already going on long enough. I'm just trying to get through the rest of the rules. Another big one mode is called Ultra Red mode. So if you run through all your experience points, you get into your meter and you've unlocked your abilities and you're still playing, you can always reset your meter to the beginning for your AP and then start over and unlock more abilities. So it's just a way to do it. And then there's the missions. This is the one of the final parts of the game. So I'm not going to get into, again, too much of all of this. But each mission here will show it'll show like its difficulty, what tiles to use. So it's going to say use tiles 1V and 3V. It's going to show you what order to put them in. You kind of got to then look at the picture to see which way to orientate them, but you know which to go in the order. It'll have any objectives you have to do, special setup rules, and then what tokens to use and where they go on the board. So this is showing you have your starting spawn tokens, your survivors start here by this exit, and then on the map you'll start with these different zombies. So you'll have it's like a runner, a fatty, and then 2 walkers that start there. Now when you have to get into these rooms, that's when you'll start placing the objective tokens and the pimp crate tokens. But you probably want to do is come through and maybe take out some of these guys first so that they don't spawn too many to take out. But yeah, you're going to get some they'll have, like this is a 9 tile one, so it's a lot bigger. Have a different options there. Just going to kind of flip this some. There's another big 9 tile one. This one's like a survival one. It's only 4 tiles, but you have 4 there. You're going to get some bunch of different ones. There are, I think, 20 missions in the game. They have different objectives, different rules to do. Like this one's actually kind of neat. It's called Pale Shelter. So you start over here on the outside. You have to get into these doors. And then of course stuff might spawn in the buildings, but zombies are going to keep spawning on the outside. So your objective isn't to escape in this one. Your objective is to then get special objectives in the building to then block all the doors so zombies can't get in. So basically you're creating your own shelter. So yeah, they have a lot of different modes and different things you can play. So the last little thing I want to go through are the skills. So all the characters have different skills, which I will kind of go through as I talk about the characters. But this will give you different abilities you will unlock over time, which will give you all your characters different stuff. And there's our basic rules on the back. Alright, so that's what I have for this. This is kind of part 1. Again, I'll go better how to play in a different video. This just kind of wanted to go through the book, and I can start showing off all the characters and tokens and stuff, which won't take nearly as long. So that'll be part 2 when I show all that stuff off.